he will do well. Styles make fights. Magnus was a really tough matchup for him. But we've seen Denis improving. I mean, the conversion, that last game at the end of the segment, phenomenal.
Yep, he showcased different openings as well. It has not been the exact same Denis that we've seen in the previous matchup. He's now in the 3+1 section. So I'm wondering, Eric, is he going to go for maybe his favorite, his most successful openings that he's tried in 5+1? We will soon see as things get underway.
I wouldn't change much of what Denis is doing so far. Just this is he's probably happy. Just like those wins give you so much confidence. And Hikaru definitely, like even that last game, looked a bit out of place. Like his weaknesses were very, very exposed. And Denis can just approach it, be like, if Hikaru's going to lash out, be my guest.
Yeah,
I can handle when he does decide to like weaken the position and pose some tough questions. I'm ready for that.
Yeah, and Magnus kind of had that same style to Denis, but what makes this matchup exciting is Hikaru will not sit back, you know, maybe the way that Denis would in a slightly worse position. Denis is willing to play those defensive moves, perhaps a little risk averse on the more passive side, but that can pay off, saving those draws. Whereas Hikaru, he's not going to accept that. And we know Hikaru, he always saves a bad position. That's his style. He's one of the most resourceful players in chess. But at the same time, he's taking risks by doing that. So that's why I think this matchup here is exciting. And you know, this position, perhaps not the most exciting, right? Very symmetrical when you look at it. The pawns are both doubled on the e-file. We actually have 4 pawns on the e-file. And you know, the really only difference is that pawn on b5, perhaps a little overextended. But Eric, not much in this one.
No, not much in this one. I think as we're entering the shorter format, Hikaru will feel a bit more comfortable. The way that some of the games went, Denis's style, he can play very accurately, you know, with 5 minutes. With 3 minutes, I think Hikaru wants to take the games to deeper waters, a few more time scrambles, a bit more chaotic, because even his style, or when he goes for that active defense, it's harder to refute when you have less time.
That's right. He's not going to have that time on the clock to calculate absolutely everything. And as we've discussed, time gets shorter. Hikaru Nakamura gets stronger. That's exactly what we can expect. Here, doubling on the f-file, there was a nice maneuver. Black brought the knight to b4, played c5, and then retreated to c6, having great control of the d4 square. The question is whether white is going to play c3, d4, maybe c3, b4. For now, the rook on a1 controlling the a-file, but there's not a lot of penetration that can happen.
No, most of the penetration's on the f-file. What you just mentioned, c3, d4, the same thing applies to black. Black plays d5, that weakens that e5, those double pawns. Same thing for white if you play d4. So I think c3 can be played, d4 under the right circumstances, because it does carry some risk.
Yep, but c3 played at least in the meantime. We could see the move b4.
I like
from
b4.
Now. Yeah, that keeps the integrity of the d3 and e4 pawns nice and solid, while still looking to open things up. Meanwhile, the rook's swinging over, doubled on the f-file. Now, in order to unleash that pressure, you do need to move this knight from f6, but white strikes first with the move b4. Hikaru is maybe looking to play something like pawn takes on c5, weakening the e5 pawn, and doubled isolated pawns would then be the result.
And there's some positions here that by fixing that pawn on b5, white does have control over the a-file. We've seen in some other games you can use that, maybe rook a6, start to harass a little bit. Also, it's not in this position, but even queen e2. Both sides have those double d pawns, bit tender. Whoever gets access to it first will have the initiative.
And knight to h7, indicating knight to g5, taking advantage of the pin on the f-file. And on top of that, you do have the move d4, which I think makes a little bit more sense due to the fact that the e4 pawn is no longer as much of a target. And I do think we will see the move d4 pretty soon. Oh,
I don't like knight e7. I was saying rook a6 is a very common idea in this structure. And moving the knight away takes pressure off of b4. Something looks off there. I'm a little surprised by d4. I thought rook a6 was an easy move to improve the position.
Yep, and actually the rooks have shifted backwards. Now, what was once a pair of doubled rooks on the f-file, now we just have rook f1. The rook stays on the a-file, so it's a little bit of queenside pressure on the a-file versus a bit of an all-in approach here on the f-file. Knight g6. Now the f4 square is weak because there's no e3 pawn anymore. White has more space in the center, but has given up some squares in the meantime.
I wanted to show something before. There's some sacrifices on f3 in certain positions. Here, knight g5, begging to be played. Almost looks like a slip.
Rook f1 was played last time to prevent knight g5 because we were just highlighting that knight g5 takes advantage of the pin. This is not going to be good enough.
No, knight g5 wasn't played. I guess he believed Hikaru.
I can't believe that is a big miss, honestly. That's very significant. Now, we're back in a position that's probably just equal once again, but knight g5 is the whole point of knight h7. So that opportunity, I think, is very, very significant.
Do you know what happened sometimes? Denis was focused on the draw, on just the equality. He didn't pivot and, oh, I can actually push for more. And that's why he wasn't looking for that move.
There's a thought that no Denis fans are thinking about right now, that's for sure. Definitely a big player missing, but obviously, you take out a player like that, you punch your ticket. That's why Denis Lazavik is sat in front of this crowd right here. Lots of exchanges, Eric, in this one, and it feels like missed opportunity, but you're focused on what's in front of you. An equal position. The thing about the center for White is, yes, you have more control, but things are also a little bit weaker, right? Bit overextended. Black has the pressure, White has the space.
And Black has a bit of time. So yes, those pawns can be a liability if they're further advanced up the board. Queen b3 here. Basic threat of queen takes e6. Do you want to walk your king? Or is that a little, yeah, he goes king h8.
Knight on g3 is loose. I still think queen takes e6 was an interesting consideration, but no, deciding to keep things under control. And that knight on g3 can be placed a little bit better. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen. Currently, repetition possible.
Well, I think Hikaru wants to equalize the clocks before going for more, because you don't want to be down 10 seconds and making a brash decision.
I feel like this is...
queen a8 is a very nice move.
Exactly.
Hitting e4, and you have ideas on the a file.
Really nice maneuvering here. The b pawn is weak, the e pawn is weak.
You're picking up a pawn here, right? Queen b2 check.
Yeah,
and where's the counterplay for Hikaru? Just these loose pawns.
This is impressive, and now the king is back on h2. The king in the center did not pay off. A pass pawn on b5 now for Black. You can go for any queen trade.
You can start pushing the pawn. You can play safe moves.
Queen d7 guards both pawns. I'd like to see the queen maybe behind the pawn and start pushing it, but it's tough to achieve that.
Oh, Denis is making some safe moves for now. He knows Hikaru doesn't have a perpetual or doesn't have threats.
You could go d5. Yes, he decided to do that. Knight e4 and knight h5.
He's trying to play queen a7. Knight gets kicked out.
The knight has no good squares, no anchors. Even knight c5 is not reliable.
Queen g3.
Uh-oh, this is big trouble.
Where's the next move?
The b pawn is dangerous. Where is the next move? He's going to repeat for now.
Maybe h5, h4.
Yep.
Grab some space.
Queen d2, you can look for trades as well.
Nice. d4 is loose here. You can even trade the queens at outside pass pawn.
Watch out, the d pawn is falling.
Wow.
And he's going to resign the game. The technique there in the knight endgame